Dave?
So, just a question. So this
Way too loud, Dave.
Is this?
Like that. And I think it was like the next day you were like, oh, hey, I'm thinking about doing this. I was like, okay. So that's literally how that went down. So like you said, it's all up and ready to go and already platformed and 18 videos deep. And we'll be adding another 9 this year. So it'll be 27 videos deep, so you can run it twice a year if you want it, or continuous. You can also use it as independent Bible studies if you don't have someone show up. So like if COVID happens or someone's sick, you can use that as an automatic stick. That was the whole part of helping the groups, is it's like having an extra person on tap where you're like, I can't get there. Oh, just play the video, and it just eases your mind, because you know sometimes stuff just doesn't happen, and now you have it's like insurance. In case someone doesn't show up, just put it on the video and play the video, and saves everybody a bunch of time, right? And you can be used as a program either way. So, and it's coming from the perspective of the person that doesn't know what they're doing. You know, the biggest lie we all tell ourselves is we pretend we know what we're doing, and that's the biggest lie. We have no clue what we're doing. We don't know why we're here. That's not true at all. And what is true is that only God knows our purpose, and we got to trust Him, right? Producing the outcome and path. But people lie to them. I know what I'm doing. I know what I got. You have no idea, you know? And it's poking that lie a little bit at a time. And I let them prove to me that it's true. I don't prove it to them. I'll just, like when I started off the line, that's why the line study is always my favorite, Because I'm like, how many people here know every time you tell a story, you know someone that tells a bigger one? Remember? And I went through that.
Oh, the line story.
Lying study, yeah.
Line study.
Yeah, because everybody lies and everybody knows that person. Most people are that person, right? And then they prove to themselves that it's true. And I say, now that you know it's true, now what? You can't deny the existence of that truth anymore. So what do you do about it? Forces decision, right? Choose to win or choose to fail, but you're going to choose, you know.
And so what's it Geddy Lee said? And if you choose not to decide,
is a decision.
A choice.
That's right. That's right.
I will choose not to decide. I will choose free will.
Yeah. Dave's really not. He's really not going to finish this. You see how he worked that out?
All right, buddy.
Yeah, and it'll be, yeah, it's endless. So.
The endless game. The endless chess game.
No, we play pretty regular. He's my, what does he call us? Sparring partner. He's my.
You hone your skills on him.
I practice. Well, it's actually we started playing. He's like, you always do the same start. Why don't you try something else? I was like, all right. So I learned a start with every possible piece, and now I've started honing those skills in. And now he's probably wishing he never asked me to do that.
Hey, you know what? Do the same thing and expect different results.
That's right, Dave. And so I haven't. I did something different, and I got a different result. And it's not really about winning for me. It's about being able to outwit the defense or the offense of the other person.
Figure out where they're going and what they're doing.
And use that to their disadvantage. Like doing what they think is correct and then making that the weakness. Gosh, that's so fun.
It's almost diabolical.
It's, well, honestly, I learned it by being honest.
15 seconds.
I learned it by being honest. By being honest, people have said, oh, you use that, honesty as a way of almost lying. I said, how's that? He said, well, you know the person's not going to believe what you're saying. They're going to believe something else, and then you use that to your advantage.
They think that you're up to deceive them, right?
Right, and because I'm aware of that deception, therefore it makes me deceptive because I'm putting that in my thought process of outcome. I was just like, wow. All right, welcome to the Spiritual Warfare Unit in 3, 2, 1. Dave, are we there? Are we live, Dave? Do we go?
Just go, sunshine. I tell
All
you.
right. So, anyways, I've been told you use the truth deceptively because of the fact that I understand that sin nature is deceptive, and because of that, and using that as part of the process, somehow makes me, therefore, thus diabolical, I guess. Anyways, welcome to the Spiritual Warfare Unit. This is the Warrior's Way, and we are in association with UCAN, United Community Addiction Network, and I am here with Father Thomas Dunseth. Father Thomas, say hello.
Well, hi.
Hey, how are ya?
Happy to be here
On this freezing day. Well, it only took you about 10 minutes to find the space in the large parking lot.
It was snow covered, and I just sun was in my eyes.
Yeah, sun. Well, at least there was some sun, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So Father Thomas and I got to meet at our social club that we hang out at from time to time, and I don't know. It's really interesting what you do. So tell people what you do and where you're from, real quick.
All right. I am originally grew up in Detroit, and then moved out into the northern suburbs later when the family moved out there. I grew up mostly in Michigan. Currently, I work in Flint. I live in Highland, Michigan, which is about half hour south. And in Flint, I am the pastor at St. Paul Lutheran Church and Christ the King Lutheran Church for the Deaf over on the west side by McLaren Hospital.
Right. And and the deaf community is why I have you here. So we have a heart about drug rehabilitation, and that's where you and I have met in regards to doing drug rehabilitation. And so I am here to let people know that, believe it or not, deaf people struggle with drug rehabilitation and alcohol. Isn't that strange?
Yes, just like everybody else.
It's weird. They're almost as normal as everybody else. Yeah, and the interesting thing is there's nothing out there for these guys, right?
Nothing locally, very little compared. Like I recall, you and I were sitting together talking, and you showed me this book of all of the addictions and recovery programs in Flint available, and it was like 170 or something like that.
Yeah.
And specifically for deaf people, there were not any.
Right.
We can talk about what's available for deaf people, but at maybe a later time. But probably in something that is all deaf, all in their language, which is American Sign Language, there is not a program currently running.
All right. Well, before we get into all that, the first thing you had told me is about how there was different dialects in sign language, right? Now, I don't know about you guys. That kind of blew my mind because I figured, sign language is sign language. Hey, how are you? I love you. Good to see you. Thank you. Like, whatever. But there's actually different dialects and languages to this. So explain how you know that.
Well, I'll begin by saying that, people who are not familiar with American Sign Language in the deaf community, we naturally think, and not to be faulted, it's just not part of our world,
right,
that sign language may be universal.
Right.
But in fact, it isn't. Even in Great Britain, Australia, and Canada, Canada uses American Sign Language, but those other places where English is spoken, they have different sign languages. And if you go to different parts of the U.S. even, there will be differences in American Sign Language. So mostly it's the same, but there's a lot of little unique special things in the parts of the language that people use there.
So is it kind of like English, but there's different dialects? Or is it like the difference between like Chinese, French, English?
Within the U.S., it would be just maybe like accents.
Okay.
Going to the South or maybe the East Coast.
So there's like a drawl with sign language?
In a sense, yeah.
Wow, that's cool.
And, deaf people will laugh at that, too, when they come across something that seems a little odd to them.
Yeah.
However, internationally, right, it's as different as English is to Japanese or something.
Okay. I didn't even dawn on me, so it's one of those things you told me about. I was like, man, I bet you I'm not the only person that doesn't know that, right?
Never
Which makes
of it.
me the idiot, and I'm fine with that.
No, nobody's idiots. It's just not hasn't been part of your world until you
I don't know,
me.
Thomas. I got paperwork that would argue fairly strongly in the opposite.
No comment.
Right, so before we get kicked in, now, you had said you're from Detroit, and then you decided to get into ministry when? Were you a young man, or is it?
I was about 25 years old. It happened later in life that I started attending any kind of a Christian church, and it happened to be, and I ended up falling into the Lutheran camp, of which I am, of the Missouri Lutherans, kind of more of a conservative confessional group of Lutherans. And then I just wanted to know more about God, so I graduated from Oakland University out in Rochester. And then I had enrolled in a seminary. I just wanted to know more about God, who I was just learning so much about and was so fascinated with. So I enrolled in that seminary in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and went through 4 years of that program.
Okay. And so that would have made you 30.
About.
At that time. Okay, so here you are, 30. Now how did you make the switch between like seminary and then deaf? Like how did that, what was the thing there?
Well, this particular seminary, when you graduate from it, they will place you someplace.
Okay.
And you don't have a choice.
Oh.
They will put you somewhere.
They're voluntold.
Yes.
It's like the military.
Yes.
Outstanding.
Following the first placement, then after that, then you have a choice of whether or not to accept a new position or not.
So where did you volunteer to go the first time?
Well, because during my seminary experience, I spent a year in China, up in the north, and so this is back 1990, a year after the Tiananmen Square incident.
Wow.
Yeah, so we were up there.
So it was tense.
It was very tense, and the closer you were to Peking or Beijing, the more tense it was, and we were just across the water from them, so we were quite close.
Wow.
Yeah.
So they didn't, that you're like you being there was not like a positive in their mind.
I think for some people it was. Universities were wanting at that time English-speaking English teachers in their English programs.
Gotcha.
And they realized at that time that English was the language of business and trade, and it was going to be that way. So they encouraged their universities to teach it.
Gotcha.
So they wanted us to be there. So we spent a year there, came back to the school. I went out on a year internship working with Chinese students in Illinois. And then I came back to the seminary for my 4th year, and following that, then they were ready to place me someplace, and it happened to be back in the China region.
Let me get this in you, again, paperwork that I'm slow. I just want to walk this through my mind. So you went to college, you went to seminary, and then you had to learn Chinese and sign language?
That happened on the field after I arrived in China.
Oh, that was an added.
Yes.
So you weren't even prepared. You just walked in and was like, oh, by the way, 2 more languages. Wow.
Well, actually, I think what's going to form some of our discussion as we go forward on our talk today is that sign language and deaf people was not at all ever on my radar. I never met a deaf person here in the U.S.
Perfect. That's perfect. Okay. So you were in there. You're in China, you're doing the ministry, and how did that happen?
All right. Well, arrived there. So I should preface this with that we were placed in the city of Macau, which is along the South China coast near Hong Kong, about 60 miles west by boat.
Okay.
And it had been a Portuguese colony for 442 years. So when I say China, now it has returned to China since in 1999. However, it was under Portuguese rule there. So it was a bit different than what was going across up on the mainland, across the border where I had lived the previous year. So quite different. Very Western, governed by Portugal, whereas Hong Kong was Great Britain.
Right.
And so arriving there then, still under Portuguese rule, the first thing we did is language study. So I was immersed in full-time Cantonese language study.
Oh, you're fine. I'm just trying to wait for this guy.
Cantonese. All right. And then and how long does that take you to pick up? Like, was it hard?
Oh.
It sounds like it's insane.
So before I went overseas, I went to a quick language acquisition program with people who are going to 32 other countries.
Pull your mic a little bit closer into you.
All right.
Just kind
right
of
there.
Pull it this way.
Okay. Is that okay?
Yeah. Oh, you have lots of bass in your voice. All right. So we're trying to learn Cantonese and had no idea. All right. This is
No. And Cantonese is one of the most difficult languages in the world to learn. It has 9 tones.
9 tones.
Mandarin has 4. So it's quite a bit less.
So give me an example
difficult.
of these tones so we know what you're talking, because I don't even know what you're talking about, tone.
So, for example, a tonal language is absolutely necessary that you know the tones, because if you don't know the tones, you might say something else, which could be embarrassing.
Okay.
So, let's say, for example, the word ma. And I'll just give you
As in mom?
the 9 tones. M-A, ma.
Okay, ma.
Ma, 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 ma. So those would be all the tones for the word tone ma. And each of those with a different tone means something different.
Oh,
Yeah. Now, sign language doesn't have that, thankfully.
yeah, because I'm sitting here listening to you going, 9 tones for ma, and each word means something else in that tone.
Yes.
Whoo.
Yeah. So Cantonese is a marvelous language, full of meaning and a lot of neat wordplay, which is fun. However, graduated from that program after 2 years, and still did not know that I was going in to work with deaf people. However, there was a Lutheran deaf school in that city of which I visited from time to time.
Yeah. Wow, so you're in there learning this language for 2 years, and you're just doing ministry work at that moment?
Yeah, I thought I was going to be working for our partner Lutheran Chinese church, speaking Chinese. That was my goal.
And curious, do you know how long that church has been out there?
That church body is the Hong Kong Lutheran group, and they had started following the Chinese, the People's Republic of China's founding in 1949, and all the Christians fled. For good reason. To Hong Kong, Taiwan, and Macau, and then those churches were formed in about 1949.
Okay.
Ish. That's how long they've been there.
All right. Well, that is an excellent start to our story. I told you guys Thomas was an amazing human being. We're going to get into this, and we're going to take a break right now, and we'll be right back in a couple of minutes. Appreciate you. So, if you're sitting on behind the scenes, Dave, I need that door shut. That thing's driving me crazy.
Can do. Yeah, just when you lean into the mic. That way I can actually get it.
Yeah, I couldn't actually, I couldn't find a good way to say it other than just to say it, so I just said it. So.
That's a nerdery.
Got to teach him some sign language.
Oh, yeah, he always does, but it ends up with me being number one. You know what I mean?
It's all right. No, let's go to London. You know, whatever works. All right.
We're going to get into this next section.
Lights all right, not blowing you out?
Sounds good, right?
The lights aren't too bad?
Yeah, good.
Okay, good.
I'm staying low and slow.
Okay.
Everything's sounding good.
Yeah.
Like, the story's great, right?
Yeah, right?
I told you he's excellent. He's just excellent story. Because the story's super important, because people got to understand, who it is. When it comes to nonprofits and churches, is they need to understand there's a great person behind there. And all I'm doing is giving you guys the ability. That's it. And I find your story extraordinary ever since we met. And we keep the particulars from the social club to ourselves. But
yes. Yeah. There may be some
who
listen to this.
Absolutely. And had no intention of. I will be getting a cup, though, that supports our local social club. But that'll be it. This one's just for brain injury. So.
Oh, okay.
Dave, how much time we got?
Whatever you want. Remember, this is the part we're editing out. We don't have any commercials actually.
All right.
So if you're ready, then.
All right, so if you're watching on live, that's basically what we do behind the scenes. We get ready for our next ones, and we move forward. So, all right, that will be cut out, so that's just a gem for you watching at home. All right, are we ready? Hey, and you're doing a count, right? At 14, Dave?
Yeah, I'll time it.
All right. Yeah, that's how we get each other. We beat things. And
That's how deaf people. Yeah. Same.
Yeah. Hey, that works out. Stop, and we're ready.
Flashlight.
All right. Welcome back to the Spiritual Warfare Unit. This is the Warrior's Way, supported by United Community Addiction Network, UCAN, and I have Father Thomas Dunseth, and he is with us from the Flint Deaf Church, right downtown, across from McLaren. And you were just getting into the Cantonese language and going in there for 2 years, and still not. And you gave us that tonal difference in the words, which makes me not want to learn that language, because that's just one word, and you have to learn 9 tonal things for each word, and then how they work together. So, I'm thinking in my mind, just to finish that up, is like A is ah or ah, right? A has those 2 basic tones, so they could have 9 tones. That's crazy, and I can understand that you're still putting it together after 2 years, right?
Oh, sure. Yeah. I mean, I think with some of those, the depth and the richness of that language, it's a lifetime of study, especially if you're not hearing it and speaking it every day.
Right. Right. So, all right. So you're here, not even getting into deaf community, just doing ministry out there for the church. And then what happened?
Well, it was in the second year of language study. So the first year was listening and speaking. So you're getting all the tones, the pronunciations in the first year, putting sentences together, grammar and that. Mm-hmm. The second year, it was much more intense, because that was reading and writing those characters. So that's a whole, that even more is a lifetime of study. But to to help with my language study, the principal of the Concordia School for Special Education there, which was the deaf school, the Lutheran deaf school there in the city. The principal invited me over to help at the school. So he said, "Oh, can you please come over on Fridays and lead the chapel for us?"
Yeah.
And then, later it was like, "Can you do teachers' devotions for us?" So I had to prepare,
slow
of course,
rolling you
into, to reeling me in.
Yeah.
He was very clever. So I would begin, because I didn't know any sign language at that time. And in fact, for your listeners and your watchers, we understand that being with deaf people is not that comfortable because their language is so foreign to us. And especially, I would go into the school to meet this principal maybe a couple times a month before he had asked me. And I would walk in and I get mobbed by all these children because you rarely see somebody that looks like me, tall, white, and not having dark hair, dark eyes.
Oh, sure.
So they would just come up to me, and the deaf children, the way they get your attention is tap on you or pull on your clothes.
Oh.
So I'm getting tapped and pulled in all directions. And this is very awkward, uncomfortable. I don't know the language.
Yeah.
So what I would do then is I found out when the class was in session. So I would make my entrance into the school when all the kids were in their
so you're not getting
classrooms.
swatted.
Right. I would zip up to my meeting with him, and then I would wait until the bell rang, they were back in class, and leave.
Right.
Because it was so awkward.
Right. And you had a bunch of them just yanking and pulling at you.
All
And
the
of course,
time.
you can't hit them,
No, you can't do anything.
Yeah.
Or even say, "Hi, good morning, how are you?"
Sure,
you know.
because it's, again, a different language on top of a language. That's
Completely. It's a visual manual language. So when I was leading the chapels or the devotions, or I had two interpreters.
Right.
I was in the beginning. I would speak English, and one of them would listen to the English and translate into Cantonese.
Right.
And the other interpreter would listen to the Cantonese and translate into sign.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, what is the time? So, you say something, you got to wait 20 seconds for each person to finish?
Well, so sign language interpretation is immediate, right?
Okay.
They're interpreting while you're speaking, but the Cantonese interpreter had to listen to me, and then I would stop after a phrase.
Yeah.
And then she would then speak Cantonese, and the
one
sign
would
language
sign.
interpreter, because she didn't know English, had to wait for the Cantonese.
Okay, because this, here's my mind. I'm seeing the three blind mice up there, right? That's what's going in my head right now. So you're like, "Thank you, our Father which art in heaven," right? And then,
Yes.
"Hallowed be thy name," and they're
Exactly.
and you're like, okay.
Exactly.
So you're doing this, and there has to be a comfortability with the interpreters, right? Or is that
They're used to it.
okay?
And they got used to my English, American
Okay.
English, so that everything's. But there some of their English was quite good, yeah. So, but not all.
Yeah, no, that whole scenario in my head is I just see that one being pretty hard and difficult, but it's what do you do? That's what you got to do in the situation so you get it done, right?
Yes.
So, and my favorite part about this story so far is you were voluntold. That's my favorite part, because
Yes.
it's as a guy that was in the military, I can relate to that. And I'm like, okay, so here you are in ministry, you're doing this, and the kids, and being in a car accident and being touched. To me, it feels like insects going up and down my body. That's why you always see me, hey, and I gotta really like you to hug you, because it's oh, right. And I don't typically tell people that, but that's it's not personal. I'm fighting my body to be.
Wow. Isaac, you would do great in China, because Chinese don't touch.
Oh, that would be excellent.
They generally hugging and touching and all
Yeah.
that is just not
Yeah.
appropriate.
And now that we're living in the land of the cooties, and everybody
Even more so.
right, could possibly have
It's hard for
cooties.
some people, I understand.
Yeah, the old fist bump thing works great nowadays.
For you,
right?
yes, it does.
Hey, listen, I appreciate people, but it's good that we wash our hands and people want to stay clean. But for people who have gone through a traumatic injury, like in my case, a traumatic brain injury, and your body just reacts to things differently, and so it's being stuck in a foreign. You're fighting yourself to do normal things, right? And so I'm looking at it from this position going, I would like that. I don't like that thing with the kids. I'd have been like, okay, it was great seeing you guys. I failed. Jesus is not going to love me for this. And I can, like, you know what I'm saying? But he put you in the situation. So like the type of mental fortitude necessary to do what you do, like, is unbelievable. Because like what I'm pulling out of this is you went somewhere you didn't know you were going, then had to learn a language for 2 years, then you had to learn another language, and then you had 2 people that had to teach you that language simultaneously while you're doing it, and you got this guy reeling you in a little bit at a time, trying, it's going to be wonderful, you know, don't look behind the curtain, and this is the scenario you're sitting in, right? Mm-hmm. And you're such a congenial person. Like, I enjoy just sitting and talking to you, and so I'm sitting there looking at you going, well, okay, I think we could do this, and all right, I'll give that a try. Like, in my mind, I see you doing those things, and this is where you're saying, I mean, there had to be some struggle. There had to be something that was like funny, but a struggle that you went through during this time that like that you can share with us. And
sure.
What do you got? There's got to be some gems.
One thing comes to mind, and I'd like to to say first too that flexibility, congeniality, languages are all gifts.
Right.
We're none of us is clever enough to learn those things, and
right.
Sometimes flexibility comes through hard knocks.
Yeah, that is.
So, yeah. So, what had happened was after my year of listening and speaking, I could do kindergarten Cantonese.
Right.
So really simple, which was all right with perfect for special needs kids,
mm-hmm.
and for deaf kids who are struggling getting used to learning a second language
mm-hmm.
like Chinese. So after 1 year, I got rid of the Cantonese interpreter. So then it was just me and the sign language interpreter.
So you were very comfortable with it by that point.
Yeah, okay. I could just speak simple Cantonese, and she'd be interpreting as I was speaking. So it cut a lot of time off, as you can imagine.
Yeah.
No more lag time.
Yeah.
So, after another year, I was able to get rid of the sign language interpreter and do it all myself.
Oh, okay.
And so I was picking up the local sign language, doing really good,
mm-hmm.
And then one day I was at this adult Bible study with a bunch of people,
mm-hmm.
and I had this American deaf gal came over for a couple of years just to help us out at the deaf school.
Mm-hmm.
She's from Wisconsin. And not having to learn Cantonese, she could go directly into the sign language, and she picked it up in a month, and she was fluent.
Wow.
It was wonderful
Yeah.
just to see her. So she was there. So she was my eyes there for learning stuff, a lot of stuff about the sign language. And then she signed the Chinese with me, so I didn't know American Sign Language at this time. So after this Bible study, I felt pretty confident, that I had communicated this. And I looked in the back, and this one deaf guy taps a woman who was sitting next to him on his shoulder, and he said, "What did he say?"
Uh-oh.
Yeah, which communicated to me that he didn't understand my expert signing that I had just done for the past hour. So I said to this Wisconsin deaf gal after the Bible study, I said, "What was that all about?" And she just laughs, and she says, "How do I say this without hurting your feelings?"
Outstanding.
She says, "There's really 2 kind of sign languages going on in this room. One is the one that follows the Chinese grammar, which you do, and you do that really well."
Mm-hmm.
She said, "But a lot of the deaf, what they call deaf people, don't. Chinese English grammar isn't just Chinese grammar is not part of their life, so they follow the Chinese Sign Language grammar, which is completely different. And because you didn't get it."
Right.
And I said, "Oh, no." I said, "So about what percentage of that room was that?" She says, "About 80.
Oh, no. So nobody's getting it.
Nobody's getting it. So then I said to her, "Well, when were you going to tell me this?"
Yeah, I'm just failing at a spectacular rate, and we're just... Yeah, well, that's why one of our mottos is beatings will commence and tomorrow improves, right? Because it's amazing how you get in a situation, you really think, man, I'm doing good, and I got this figured out. And it's like, God's like, here, I'm going to bring someone into your life to help you, show you just how unintelligent you are, right? And for me, like, it was kind of the opposite, because I had grown up, I was a C student. Best case scenario, C student. Study an hour, get a C. Study 4 hours, get a C. Not smart, not an idiot, just average, just average guy. And my dad was like, always, you're going to have to, you're going to have to work hard, because you're not college material. And I'm like, that's fair. That's fair. And I always have been a pretty hard worker, and I get in there, but it's like going through the injury and the therapy and all this stuff, and they're always telling you can't do it, you can't do it, you can't do it, and then getting to this point. And Thomas, for 3 years of my life, I was saying everything I thought, and I had no idea that I was doing that. So imagine, like you said 80% was just failing, right? I'm like, man, these people are just mad. I have no idea what the issue is whatsoever, and go into restaurants, and we'll be sitting there, and all of a sudden my wife's like, well, we're leaving. And I'm like, I'm hungry. What do you mean we're leaving? She's like, I don't want the waiter to spit in our coffee. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And she's like, you just insulted them. And I was like, I didn't. She's like, you did. You just said this. And I'm like, man, I was thinking that. Like, I didn't say that because that would be rude. But I was actually saying these things. And it was completely oblivious.
It's no filter.
Oh, had no idea. That's part of the injury, right? I mean, who has the problem of saying what you think? That doesn't even come into your mindset. So you doing the sign language, the same thing. And it was like one of those moments where you got to sit down. You got to have something like the School of Hard Knocks. Like, you got to have something really bad where you're like, oh, oops.
Isaac, this is amazing. I think the more I talk with you, the more I think you would be a really good candidate for recruiting for working over there with deaf people in China. Because, why do I say this? Part of deaf culture, because everything's visual, right? And they don't necessarily know they don't pick up on, unless their parents knew sign language, which most of them didn't,
right?
That they are very, very direct, and they sign what they're thinking and what they see. Like, if you've put on, about 20 pounds at Christmas time, they're going to say, Isaac, wow, you're really put on a ton of weight.
You're huge.
Yeah, you're.
Yeah.
And it's just a visual observation to them.
Yeah.
But you would be great. You're.
Well, that's one thing that I'm glad that the injury rule going to be good on. And on that note, we're going to take a quick break here, and we're going to head to commercial. We'll be right back, and I'm really looking forward to that. I'm really glad that brain injury can be useful in different. Unfortunately, it's different country. We'll be right back. And what's funny is that I am very direct, and now I'm so concerned about the tone and how I say things and the way that I say things. Very much. And people are like, man, you're really rough now, and I'm like, this is a cakewalk compared to where I came from, And so, like I said, when you were telling me the story, these are all the things I want to talk to you about, because I was like, how in the world did you get to that? Was so difficult, Looking at it, how did you get that to get into my headset and beep like that?
You didn't. It was just loudly being annoying.
Oh, you're just being annoying. Dave is excellent at that particular proclivity, helping.
Just annoying?
He has a very good way of making sure that he wanted to get your undivided attention.
It wasn't on purpose, I can tell you that.
And yet he's very fluent. So, when we get into the next session, I want to keep going on what it is that you were looking at, and hey, you guys post and comment on what you think about our video so far, and I appreciate you taking a look at the background with us. And did you need to get a refill on tea? Because I got to get some more coffee. So
Why not?
all right, we can get it up there.
So the next section, where are we going? Are we going to leave China?
So you're gonna finish up telling the story, leave China, where I would fit in wonderfully, and we're gonna get to where you got to here.
In this next section?
Yeah.
All right.
people that are talking about breaking the rules use their fingers to speak to each other. And that's what gangs do to communicate from point A to point B. It's almost like this has been in the Bible for 2,000 years. And people feel like it's a new thing. That is unbelievable, isn't it? That things that are happening in your life today are in here from 2,000 years ago. That's very weird. Welcome back to our next session. This afternoon we are going to be talking about the drunkard and the glutton. Same problem, different way of handling. Proverbs chapter 23, verses 20 and 21. Proverbs chapter 23, verses 20 and 21 for the definition of the drunkard and the glutton. See what it says. It says, "Be not among winebibbers, among riotous eaters of flesh, for the drunkard and the glutton shall come to poverty, and drowsiness shall clothe a man with rags." Notice in the first verse that it says to be not around or among winebibbers, among riotous eaters of flesh. That means not being around people that are consistently partying and devouring things. Why would you not want to be around somebody who is out partying and being drunk all the time? That's a pretty good question. The answer is in verse 21. It says, "For the drunkard and the glutton shall come to poverty, and drowsiness shall clothe a man with rags." Now, why do you think that a drunkard would come to poverty? Let's look at what a drunkard does. How many people have struggled drinking before? Outstanding. How many people have struggled with drug addiction? Outstanding. So, when you have a drug addiction or an alcohol addiction, how is your work ethic affected once you've gone out and done those things? Do you get up the next morning gleeful and waiting for work to come in the morning? I don't think there's enough coffee to get you up after a hard night of drinking or shooting up. You're going to miss work, right? You miss work, you miss money. You miss work, you could possibly be fired. You miss work, you could possibly lose the things that you have, right? And so its ability to help you be able to take care of yourself becomes the issue. So the ultimate issue that you're looking at is getting drunk or being numb or going out and devouring whatever it is that makes you feel good and allows you to forget about your problems for a little while. And then after a little while, one of those things is going to win. What do I mean? Well, a person that can maintain work and still feel numb has got a specific term. Does anybody know what that is? It's called a functioning alcoholic, right? A functioning drug addict. A person that can maintain doing drugs while keeping their job. And you understand that's the bare minimum. That is literally the bare minimum. And I've found people say, well, that's the spot, that's the sweet spot, Chaplain. That's the spot I'm trying to find, is being able to work and maintain being numb. Well, what I would ask you is, do you think that being numb and working is being successful in life? Or would you say that that is surviving? barely surviving, right? What you have to ask yourself is, why is the bar that you've shut at survival mode?
So is the camera
Right?
going
'Cause
too?
Survival mode. What are you worried
Got
about?
5 of them
So
going.
we don't need to
Where
look.
you're sleeping?
No, you're just talking to me.
I'm the one that, I'm aiming at
He's
everybody else.
he's doing all that.
Right?
Okay.
We're just sitting here hanging out like we normally would.
Right?
In
That's
the
survival mode.
place.
Social club.
But have you ever thought of what would happen above,
That's right. Being social
beyond that?
in society. That's right.
with each other.
That's right. You ready?
That,
We going? Got the clock ready? Ready? 3, 2, 1. All right. Welcome back to the Spiritual Warfare Unit. This is the Warrior's Way. Our warrior we're talking to today is Father Thomas Dunseth, and he was finishing his story about learning Cantonese, the 9 different
Tones.
tone sounds, blows my mind, and sign language, and you got the guy reeling you in, right? Trying to, after you've been voluntold to get out there. So that's where we finished up with the story. So I'm curious, how does that story, because you went from, let's see, from Detroit to there, and now how in the world did you get from there to here? How'd that happen?
All right. Well, the important thing to understand is that I never left there, so I'm actually still there.
So you're in 2 places at the same time.
With COVID right now, haven't been able to get over because they got a 21-day quarantine mandatory.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, so after 21 days in a hotel, if you don't jump out the window, you're probably have to go home.
Yeah,
So
right.
what can you do?
Yeah.
So I haven't gone, but I'm still. I still assist with that school. I'm still on the board.
Okay.
For them, we help to guide the school, work together with the local government, and to educate the kids and to teach them about Jesus Christ.
That's awesome. So you're still doing that. So
I'm still there. So I'm over there several times a year. We have meetings, do governmental documents and papers, and I send them back and forth with FedEx. And
Gotcha.
So I'm there. I'm still there often, and I have contact. But I did move back physically, full time, mostly to the U.S.
Mostly.
in the year 2000.
Okay.
So I'd been there about 10 years, just exclusively, and then
All
I
right.
moved back to Michigan.
Right. So and then you moved to where?
Or
Or Highland?
Well, I could have actually lived anywhere I wanted,
Okay.
just because I was brought on by the same Lutheran church group to be the missionary at large for the state of Michigan in Windsor.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
The church in Michigan. Well, it's like with the Catholics, right? It's divided up into dioceses.
Yeah.
Throughout the U.S.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
Michigan actually is one of ours, and then
Right.
there's about 435 congregations.
And that's Lutheran again.
These
right?
are all these Missouri Lutheran
All right.
churches in Michigan.
All right. So you got to decide. So you decided to come back home, and how did you get to the Deaf Flint church in church that we have in Flint there? How'd that happen?
Okay. Well, just after I came back, so then I was placed here. Then I had to learn American Sign Language.
Right. Yeah.
So
No tones, but another
Right.
language, right?
So I was actually the pastor of the Detroit church when I first came back.
Oh, okay.
So it was just in 2020 actually that I was moved then to the Flint church.
Wow.
Yeah. So Flint, of course, Flint is a big area for deaf, right?
Yeah.
We have most people in Flint know where the deaf kids go to school.
Yep.
You've got Michigan School for Deaf, the one deaf institution
Yep.
in Michigan. But what most people don't know about is there was another deaf school in Michigan for over 100 years called Lutheran School for the Deaf in
Really?
Detroit. Yeah.
No kidding.
Yep.
For 100 years.
For 100 years, little kiddies came from all over the U.S. They had dormitories. They stayed there. They learned sign language and English and Jesus.
Wow.
And then graduated and went back home and populated deaf churches across the country.
Oh, outstanding. What happened with that?
Well, In the 80s, what became really popular is mainstreaming. So parents did not have to send their children then to institutions far away and see them twice a year at Christmas and Easter.
Right.
They could stay at home with mom and dad and go into local schools with interpreters in the local
I
school.
gotcha.
So the government provided that.
But isn't that more lonely, I think?
Well, in some ways, yes, because you're not surrounded by a lot of peers.
Yeah, and I would imagine the kids are terrible. They make
That's a
fun
good
of you.
observation. Yeah, very good.
I would find that more lonely, I think, than actually going to
Many do. Many do. Yeah.
All right. So you were at Detroit for 20 years.
15 years.
15.
Yeah, a little more. 18 years.
From 2000 to 2000.
To 22. Oh, yeah, I suppose. Well, there was an interim which we're not going to talk about, but
Yeah.
I was a few years out in Long Island, New York.
Okay.
At a deaf school out there. So.
Yeah, so about 20 years, and then you come to Flint. Now, mind you, this is just after COVID, I think we met, right? Or right in the end of it, I can't remember. And so we got to meet, and I had never met someone that had done sign language and School of Deaf, and I certainly had never met anybody that was looking at drug rehabilitation. And to be honest, my ignorance of the situation, well, it didn't even dawn on me. And I'm not really. Why would it, right? So that's why I thought your story was extraordinary, because they struggle with the exact same things that everybody else struggles with on top of being deaf, right? So you're looking at having to deal with not fitting in. So you're always the nerd, right? You're always the standout, and people are always making fun of you. And then I imagine that hits depression, and teenage years got to be terrible, right? And then that addiction, just so they have something. So, and the reason why I love addiction is most people that struggle with addiction, they were looking for peace, but they settled for numb, right? And they were looking for God the whole time, but they settled for something less powerful, right? And it's the same path. I'm just taking it to the next step that you were looking for the whole time, right? And so being able to help people that struggle with this became an idea. And then when you had said, hey, your program on spiritualwarfareunit.com, I want to take a look at that, blew my mind. And then when you said, hey, how many languages? I was like, whoa! It didn't even hit my head, right? And because you're thinking, okay, we got to look at this from the perspective of around the world and people that can get to this. And I wasn't even thinking that. And then when you said that statement, I started thinking that, and I'm like, okay, all right, this is what this guy needs. And I started pumping out. I'm a solutions person. I want to know how many solutions that you need, and we get you going. So that's how Thomas and I met, and that's the structure that we were talking about. So. What led you to let the people know about how you got into the drug rehabilitation version? Was it something because there was nothing there and you have to invent this, or is it something that was laid out? Because in my experience, normally it's like, oh no, we have a need. We're going to voluntold you into the scenario, and then we're going to move forward. And I got a feeling it's probably what happened, but kind of it's the best way, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting. The Lord, how he leads us.
Right.
And that he may lead some of us by different paths, and some of them may not be all that pleasant paths, but the goal is a very pleasant, is pleasantness and peace and joy forever.
Yeah. It's actually the way we want to go. We just don't understand, like I was telling you at the beginning there, it's the biggest lie we all tell ourselves is that we know what we're doing. Yeah. God made us all individuals, and we have a path, and he knows why we're here, but we don't know why we're here, hence faith and trust and all those, and that list of things in this book I read somewhere, about God or something, some kind of manual about life, I don't know, and I wasn't paying attention.
Well, a neat thing that I think I've learned from knowing you, Isaac, is that how the Lord uses things like prison, addiction, as paths to him.
Yeah.
It's a rough path, but it's a path that I think former addicts and former people who are incarcerated may look back and say, if this is what it took me to bring me to the Lord, it was worth it.
Yeah, because the negative is only a negative if you don't learn for it. Actually, it tells us that in Proverbs that one of the ways to learn in life is called an error or a reproof, right? Which is a mistake. It's a screw up. And so if we take that situation and we say, I screwed up in the situation and we learned not to do it again, was that a bad thing? It's only a bad thing if you keep doing it, right? Which is called a cyclical thing, and sin has cycles and things in training. If I don't learn from it and I keep doing the same thing, then beatings will commence and some morale improves. Like, you're just never going to win that fight because God wants you out of that scenario, and this is the way you have to learn. And if you won't learn it, then you have to consistently take that path, and it gets more difficult than less difficult. And then once you realize, all right, Lord, you have a purpose for me, and each one of us have purpose. Like, that's why having a brain injury, it matters because there's purpose. If someone is deaf, that matters because they have purpose. There's an exact reason why God made them that way, and he has a path for them that they're going to enjoy doing, and he made them to enjoy so they can be successful, right? And so to be sitting here with you and being able to help people find that path that they're going to be successful on, because ultimately, like everybody, the reason why we did this with the nonprofits and the churches is because you guys are doing the work, right? You're hands-on doing the work, and you guys know the purpose. You know our purpose. And most people out there, what is my purpose? What am I supposed to do with my life? Who am I? Why? These are the big questions. Like someone asked me a lot of times, Isaac, I'm depressed. And I'm like, okay, well, when's the last time you helped somebody? When's the last time you went to a soup kitchen or donated some clothes, right? And they'll go, huh. And I'll go, I find helping people to help me with depression, right? And so they'll go do that. Man, that was fun. I was like, it's addicting, right? You want some more? I got a list, right? Because I don't like watching people fail. And the only reason I do the Bible is because it works. If it didn't work, I would be its largest adamant fighter and say it doesn't work. But I did it, and then it worked. What do you do with that? You sit there, and you have the truth, and you got to make a decision, right? Either this is real or it's junk. And if it's real, then how do I let other people know it's real so they don't fail, right? So just like, how do I help people find your information to help these people if this is a passion? Do you have like a website or like a Facebook or both or anything like that?
Yeah. So St. Paul Lutheran Church has its own St. Paul Flint has its own website and Facebook.
Okay.
We have one that's specifically deaf. It's ELMS DEAF.org, and on there we have resources and just information for both. If you're looking for a deaf church someplace or Bible studies, or you're looking for various services, you can go and take a look at that. But you asked somebody how I came in contact, or how I know that addiction was a need.
Yeah.
Somebody locally, a longtime friend who was actually working in the deaf community here in Flint for many years. She came to me and said, "Hey, this is a problem, and there's not much available for deaf people. Can you help?"
Right.
And that following that meeting, I began looking around, seeing what was available, because I didn't know much about it.
Right.
And then talking to you, of course, who then encouraged me greatly. And then it seems that this is something that we really hope to be doing pretty soon.
Oh, no, we're going to
will
be
be
getting
available.
it done, bud. Don't you worry. I'm going to be chucking so much at you, you're going to be like, no, that's too much. That's my goal, is to get you there, man. That's awesome. I love what you do. So if somebody wanted to, like, learn sign language or get involved, is that something that you guys do, or is there, like, classes they can take or anything like that?
Yeah, I think in the past, the CAC, Communication Access Center, here, it used to be connected with the deaf school. Now it's out in Flushing, but you can still look for that Communication Access Center.
Okay.
And they could tell you where you can learn sign language classes. But, one of the best ways to learn a language is to hang out with the people who use it.
Right.
So come to church.
Yeah,
come hang
right.
out with the deaf people. Come to events.
Yeah, go work for Jesus for a little while.
Yeah, just hang out and learn language.
And
It's
so
fun.
you guys have, like, events and a calendar and all that stuff, so
Sure.
people want to check out. And, like I said, just being then I didn't even think about it. And that's my own ignorance. And so one of the reasons why I had you on here is because I find the deaf community caring and funny, actually very and it may be the brain injury that makes it funny, because there's certain things that I'll find funny that other people won't. But they're so normal That's the best way I can explain it. They're extremely normal, and I look forward to being a part of this and helping them out when I can. You guys sit tight. We're going to come back with our last session with Father Thomas Dunseth and with his deaf community, and I look forward to talking to him soon. Sit tight. All right, so
Go ahead and actually talk into the mic and tell me how do you spell your name?
Dunseth.
Okay. And your first name?
Thomas.
Is that Tomas or
Thomas. Ha.
no, he actually answers to Richard. Just so you know.
Him?
Yeah, it's a proper name.
Not the shortened version?
No, but he should. He really should. Yeah, no. So, like, how many events do you guys have a year? Because I would love for people, or like, if they can donate to this, is something else. Like,
Beyond church, we do Bible studies, we do wine tastings, we do mission festivals. We do
what's a mission?
trips.
What's a mission festival?
Okay, so every year we've been doing this for 20 years up in Frankenmuth.
Okay.
They have a mission festival, and I just wanted to get deaf people just a broader understanding of missions.
Yeah.
And so we go every year there the fourth Sunday in August. It's an outside worship out in the park.
Okay.
And they have a speaker come in, a mission speaker, so they'll have opening worship, and it's all interpreted. So we had like 50 deaf people come.
Cool.
And then then after that, while that's happening, they're cooking their chicken barbecue. It's just then you eat a nice German chicken meal afterwards, and then we separate hearing and deaf different with speakers.
Hey, what was that website again?
ELMS.
ELMS-deaf.org.
Yeah, and I need you to send me. I gotta send me a link so we can add that to our list. So, because I want people to go, hey, go to our website, take a look at this, and if they're interested, then click on it. Or if
So
you're
websites, Facebook page, or
what website, so they can get information to call whoever.
Okay.
Website information so they can text whoever, so they can get to you. I want them to be able, if they see us, click on that so they can get to you.
Okay, I'll give you a text number, which would be my cell phone.
Okay. All right.
Okay, where are we going now?
We're gonna talk about the mission festival thing. Anything else?
Not wine tasting.
No. We're gonna talk about the chicken. We're gonna go through that story again.
Okay.
And then,
Look good. Is that the
Yeah,
website?
that's us.
Cool.
all right. Yeah. Can I get that website link on the bottom of my podcast?
Yeah.
Okay. I need that. And then if you want to put your number, I wouldn't do that, but
Okay. All right. We'll just.
just someone they can contact that via the website that can return information.
Oh,
Now,
through.
Is this you or is this national?
This is. Yes.
Okay, so
I guess the question is yes.
Yes.
Yeah, right. No, a lot of times, like for example, I was waiting for a package from FedEx, so I looked up to a number to see where it was, and they gave me the national 1-800 number.
Well, this is me. I mean, so it's
For the
basically right now it's Michigan. So
Okay.
it's
Perfect.
Yeah.
All right. So for the state, we can put up state of Michigan, deaf support, drug rehabilitation, blah blah blah. Okay.
So we'll get that information.
Yeah.
You text it to us, email it to us.
It would be. Do you think we ought to put up something like deaf drug rehabilitation coming
Yes.
soon?
Yes. We're going to be plugging all that.
I mean, it isn't up yet, but just coming soon.
Yeah.
Maybe just something on that website. Okay.
Even if they're struggling with rehabilitation, all we got is message of the Lord. That is enough until we get there. Like the video. Hey, can you text Adam and have him send him a code for like 2 weeks for the videos, so you can check those out. All right, he's gonna send those to you, and you got his number, right?
Adam?
Tom.
Thomas? No. Adam? I don't even have his phone number.
All right, I will remind me because I'll forget. All right, so we're gonna finish up here, and I wanna hit that, and then I want to plug UCAN. I want to plug Spiritual Warfare Unit, and thank you. Finish up. All right. Whenever you're ready, Dave. This is ultimately all waiting on the talent. And then Dave will cut this, and he'll do his magic, and
Go
And
off
then-
to the
yep. I just need your people to
office.
like and follow what they're doing, so they can see what we're doing, and we'll be in support. We'll be telling them behind stuff.
just send me the link for it, and I'll send
Yeah,
it
yeah.
out to
Perfect.
100 deaf people.
Perfect. All right. Do what? I didn't hear you.
Your phone
What about it?
is blowing up.
Oh, good. That's great. Just stay away from it because explosives are cool.
Oh dear.
All right. Well, if you want to check to see if if there's any questions that they want us to answer or anything on there, Dave likes to have a call in for something we're working on with the podcast in case someone calls in for information and stuff. So generally it's mostly support. Some people like to tell me I look fat, and that's because I like chocolate. And
Was a deaf person said that did this to you?
yeah, it doesn't matter. It's definitely chew, hence the two chins. You know, it took me. I'm somewhere in the Bible says not to be a quitter. So
Well, the problem is, you fight that all your life, and
That's
then
it.
you finally lose that chin, and then you turn 50, and it comes back, and you can't get rid
yeah,
of it.
and then it just dangles, and it's like, what is happening?
We have to have beards.
Yeah, like once that
Oh,
once that Dunlap comes over with your jeans and you get that mushroom flop, it never goes back,
the
man.
Dunlop's disease.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Dave looks like a loaf of bread.
Dunlopped over my
Yeah.
balls, you know?
We were told we were twins by a waitress. I was like, I have never been insulted that much in my Actually, I didn't say that. He was like, my beard is not nearly that gray. That's how that. I kept my mouth shut. That's how that went. You're fighting that monster all the time, so you're like, don't say anything stupid.
Have to leave the restaurant.
That's right. Oh, they
Again.
look angry. I did that, right, honey? Time to go.
Leave a big tip.
That's right. Huge dip. Huge.
All right.
All right, are we
You ready,
ready?
sunshine?
Yeah, you ready?
Started.
All right. Welcome back. Just finishing up here with Father Thomas Dunseth, and he is from the Missouri Lutherans in Flint at the Deaf Church, right across from the McLaren, right downtown in Flint, Michigan. And you were telling me about a mission something in Frankenmuth. What was that?
Yes. We were talking about different events that we have for deaf people throughout the year, and one of them happens each August, the fourth Sunday in Frankenmuth.
That's right.
So it is a mission festival, the kind of the big Lutheran church, their big, beautiful Lutheran church. You can see as you're getting close to Frankenmuth, whether you're going there for, Bronner's to do your Christmas shopping
yeah.
or some nice eats downtown.
Right.
You can see the big steeple as you're coming.
Really?
into
Now,
town.
is it on the left or right as you're heading down 75 there?
It's on the east side, so the right.
So the right side. Okay.
Going north down 75.
I'll be looking for it next
Yep.
time. Yeah.
Yep. But you have to go into Frankenmuth before you see that steeple.
Well, I mean, it's Michigan. We all go to Frankenmuth. Yeah.
We do, too.
The chicken's delicious.
number one tourist site still for the
that's
state.
right.
So in August on that fourth Sunday, that church, which is called St. Lawrence, Lorenz, has a mission festival and an outdoor worship.
Okay.
And so the deaf people throughout all over Michigan have been traveling there on the fourth Sunday each August for about 20 years now.
Yeah.
About that, and so we get together for outdoor worship, and then the men who have been marinating the chicken all night and cooking it, they start cooking it
You're making
during
my
church.
mouth water.
Oh, I mean, you think that the Zenders or Bavarian Inn chicken is good?
Yeah.
I prefer. If anybody is from that restaurant listening, I love your chicken.
Yeah.
It's wonderful. God bless you. But there's something about this one that they do just fantastic.
Well, I told you it took me a long time to be chubby, and I'm no quitter. So
Well, then you'd come welcome.
absolutely.
Next summer.
So they go down there, and this is for people. So this is people that are deaf, people that are not deaf, families, and so then they separate. You said at the end, so they do a little.
So The worship service is interpreted. We have an interpreter team that comes in and does this, so deaf people have access to that service. And then after the chicken dinner, we kind of wobble to our little locations where we have a special mission presenter.
Okay.
And so we've done different things each year, but it's specifically ours is specifically for deaf people, and it's in their school. And the hearing one is outside back in that park.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. And if you know someone that is deaf and struggling with drug addiction, that's what me and Father Thomas are putting together. And he has great resources. I wanted to give a shout out to all of the support on Facebook. I appreciate the messages. You guys are awesome. I was really looking forward to having Thomas on. He's got such a life, right? And as we move forward, and hopefully our program can be in support of what you're doing, and I know you can. The United Community Addiction Network is going to be a valuable tool as far as like being able to help out with all kinds of things that will be available. And I look forward to being able to put together a core group of support that already exists for drug rehabilitation and jail reentry that you can just tap into, and as you adapt that to what you need, it'll be an extra resource that hopefully you guys I think a lot of the building has been built here, and you just got to adapt it to what you guys have. And when we were talking before, you were talking about wanting to get like a house for the deaf people that are going through this. Give me that one more time.
Okay, so there's a lot of housing available for hearing people, maybe transitional housing or adult, if you get an accident and
community reentry housing, absolutely,
yeah. As well as for sometimes for special needs adults as well.
Okay,
and there's a lot of that for hearing people, and when deaf people have that similar need, they'll get placed in these houses with hearing people, largely alone, largely without a staff that does not know their language.
Right.
So it's very, very, very lonely for them.
Right.
So we're hoping to find a home or two that we can actually use specifically for deaf people.
Right.
So everybody knows their language, the staff is fluent to sign language, and they have access to the same kind of services and support as our
somewhere where
neighbors.
They're normal. That's their house. They're normal.
This is where people know me and my language, and I can have access to everything that a hearing person has.
Absolutely. I'm absolutely on board with that, and as you know, we're going to be talking more about that, see how we can help out. If this is something that you're interested in doing, he said he's going to get us the website, and you can go click on there to see the access points and how you can support. And if you want to donate, I believe there's a donate button on there too. I was checking for that. And so Spiritual Warfare Unit is a faith-based Bible application program that is used in drug rehabilitation and jail reentry, which is people getting out of jail or prison and going back into community and trying to produce that, speaking of the housings. And we work with Salvation Army, of course, and Life Challenge is a faith-based group, New Paths, Odyssey House, Serenity House. There's a bunch of groups that we're associated and support with, and all of those guys are all on the ground, all doing the work. And so having those people come on to say what they're doing in support of what we're doing is, you guys are so busy doing the work, marketing isn't even in the wheelhouse. And so being able to provide that service for you guys, and the people just see, the great human beings that are behind this, and how God's used them on their path and the opportunities that have presented themselves. I mean, it's hard for me not want to help out when when we're in there and we're fighting this struggle every single day. And for me, having my mom who's struggled with drug addiction to this day, and I love her and I want her to do well, and she's not a terrible human being. I mean, we all have something that we fight, and sometimes we win and sometimes we lose. That's why my passion is so deep, and the fire runs so hot for that, because when it hits you at home and you've had to struggle with that, or had someone who struggled with that, it makes it very difficult for success, both in their lives and in relationship wise. So, and I gotta imagine when it comes to relationships with these people, they're probably really important, because I imagine the amount that they get are limited. So the ability to have friends and family that come in, they would probably value that at a high value. Would I be right about that?
I think so. And what a lot of it comes down to is language.
Yeah.
It's language, and communication. And how are you going to trust somebody? I mean, we can have all the wonderful programs in the world.
Yeah.
But if they don't trust you, and if you don't break down that language barrier,
Right.
then it's hard to win their trust, and for them to feel comfortable enough to trust you.
Right.
So that's so important.
Yeah, I imagine if you're not willing to learn a language, right? Like if someone speaks French or Spanish and they come here, well, you're not going to learn America. You're in America. You need to learn English, right?
Yeah,
same thing.
Yeah, walking around. And the thing about a Frenchman or Frenchwoman is they can eventually learn to,
Right.
but a deaf person's never going to be able to hear
Right.
English or French or whatever. So
Yeah.
it's the onus is on us to
Right.
learn their language.
Man, when you put it like that, it's like, man, it's like it's either my choice or don't do it, right?
Well, if the Lord puts you in a place where there's deaf people that you can live and work with and serve together with them, then you learn it. But if you haven't, there's no need.
Right.
Right. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I absolutely enjoyed having you on as a partner. I think your story is amazing, and how you've come from Michigan and then you left to go all the way out. I mean, and all places, China, which is, not friendly at all, and then to find success and sit on that board and go through those situations and then come back and your fire is still hot, and you're just like, I know a lot of you guys don't, this is your first time meeting Thomas, but I'm telling you that he's one of the most relaxed human beings. Just like doesn't really get worked up, even though Dave tries to get him fired up. He just says, "Oh, that's interesting," and just excellent people. And these are the type of people that we're going to be having on our podcast, because we all go through difficult times, right? Whether it's drug addiction or being deaf or alcoholism or divorce or family break, like we're all going through something. And what happens is we get so focused on that negative thing that it ends up defining us, right? And so me going through a car accident and brain injury, I went through this negative thing, and I refused to be defined by that thing. And so it took God to get me past it, right? And what I found is a bunch of other people that have gone through difficult scenarios, and God has created a positive out of that negative, and that thing that should have defined them or beat them became their passion to get past, right? And so having you on and having your story on here is just amazing. I cannot wait to see it. We're actually going to have him back in a few weeks, and we're going to be able to keep up with some of the progress. And if you know someone that's in a nonprofit, in a church that's actually doing the work on the ground, and they need help getting the word out about what they do, please email us at spiritualwarfareunit.com, and we'll have someone get in touch with you about getting you on the show. And Thomas, I just want to thank you very much for coming out. I look forward to our next one. Dave, great work on the production in the back. The beard's looking excellent. And Thomas, we will see you soon, my friend.
Thanks, Isaac.
All right, you guys have a great day. We're out. Appreciate you coming in. All right, cut. So, done. All right. What do you think? First initial impressions. All I could hear is do-do-do-do-do-do-do. I was like, okay, that's good.
Oh, that was mostly me, just to let you know. So.
Oh. Was I supposed to say, go check it out?
I was reminding you to.
Oh, that's mostly Dave.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks, Dave.
Hey, just remember,